I mean, I have so many questions running through my head. How many total people did you have a sit down with?
Probably close to 330.
And out of those 330, were almost all arrested?
In the first two investigations, Mike, we didn't have a parallel investigation with the police. We just did it on our own. But there were cases made. For instance, in the first investigation, the firefighter was prosecuted. In the second investigation, there was a rabbi, there was a teacher, there was a military guy, there was all people from all walks of life, and so some prosecutions were made in that case. And it was then that I figured out this isn't just a one-shot deal or a two-shot deal. This is something we're going to have to continue. And two things came to mind. One, it was socially irresponsible to let these guys just go. Because it was harder for the police to build a case. And two, it was unfulfilling for the viewer to see these guys walk away in the wind just from a practical television production standpoint. So it was right about then that we were contacted by Riverside County Sheriff's Department and said, do you want to do this? And so we fashioned a way, and we took a lot of criticism from, Scarlet J journalists. You're working too close to police. You can't do this. You can't do that. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to change the rules. You have to expand your horizons. You have to do what's right for society, for the story, and for public safety. And I'll take that criticism anytime.
Yeah, as I was reading the articles, I saw some of that criticism, and I didn't get it. I mean, you were here, the first one. I mean, some people thought that you were, entrapping these people. I don't see that at all.
It's not entrapment. First of all, you have to be law enforcement to commit entrapment. It's not a civil infraction,
right,
as you know as a lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's number one. Number two, we have a very strict protocol, and even the last one that we did, the most recent one in Connecticut, the guys have to raise the specter of sex first. They have to make the solicitation. They have to make the first approach. There are a number of protocols in place that are consistent with those of law enforcement and a fair and honest prosecution. So it's really the solicitation online that makes the case,
right,
that breaks law. Him showing up is the TV part of it, really, at the end of the day.
Well, it's also the overt act. I mean, they can get in trouble for soliciting online, but I doubt there's many cases that are made just from online chatting. I mean, I think your idea to bring him forward is just brilliant. I don't know how many other law enforcements are doing that. And the fact that this was your idea after doing 2 episodes, you're like, we need law enforcement, and then you approached law enforcement and said, you guys want to partner with us?
Well, law enforcement in that case actually approached us, and since then it's been somewhat in between. I've approached law enforcement in the most recent investigation. It was approaching the Fairfield Police Department in Connecticut. We're in discussions with 2 or 3 others to go back out there and do another one. And as you know, that the technology out there is so vastly different, and there are so many more social platforms upon which an underage boy or girl can be approached and solicited.
Yeah, they're reaching them through their video games now. Your kid's online playing video games, and all of a sudden a stranger is contacting them, and the next thing they're making an arrangement to try and meet your kid. And here you're worried about Facebook, and you're so far away. There's so many ways.
I'll give you an example. I'm sitting with one of my producers when we're doing the Crime Watch Daily show, and he's with his son, who's then 14, and he's on some app. And he said, what are you doing? They're out to a restaurant dinner. He said, well, it's this neat thing. I can talk to whomever I want to or randomly at any given time. And he said, well, how's it work? He looks up the kid's, like I said, 15, and ends up talking to a woman who identifies herself as being 42 and says, I just got out of the shower. I'm kind of wet. Do you want to talk? And he's like, give me that, But it's
crazy.
Yeah.
I have an 11-year-old daughter who's on the TikToks and on all the things, and it's scary. So I want to just, out of the 330 people that you've had to sit down with and confront in this situation, how many do you keep track of? How many were charged and how many actually pled guilty or went to trial?
I only know of one case where there was a prosecution that ended in a dismissal.
Really?
And even then, it had worked its way through the court system for so long. It was for a couple different evidentiary reasons. It was a lesser important case, and they said, well, he served some time, let him go. But in every case that I'm aware of, that I've followed, since law enforcement did a parallel investigation, there's either been a guilty plea, a conviction or a no contest plea.
Wow.
Virtually every single
So over
case.
300.
Yeah.
That's amazing.